Today we are going to be doing self-edits of my novel. This means I've written the first draft, and before I send it off to beta readers, I'm going to do some self-edits. In particular, I know my book is missing an entire side plot that I didn't realize until I literally finished writing the book. If you're curious about my writing process, I actually have been doing writing vlogs throughout the entire writing process of the first draft, so I will leave that playlist linked down below. I also have another playlist of all of my writing vlogs I've ever made, so I'll also leave that playlist down below. But this book that I'm working on today is the first book in a new romance series, and it's a book I'm very excited about. But I'm not just gonna be talking to you guys about my book. I'm going to be telling you how my self-editing process works and going through it step by step with you guys as I do my self-edits myself. I'm not the type of writer that just dives right into editing. I like to be very meticulous about what I'm doing. I like to go in with a plan, and I like to establish said plan. So we're going to be doing a couple of different things before I actually start editing. And then also when I start editing, I usually make a goal for myself to edit a certain amount of chapters every day, because I do have self-inflicted deadlines for myself. So we're going to be talking about all of that today. So I'll tell you about each step as we reach them. So step 1 is doing a summary of my book. So basically, I'm going to remake my outline of my book, because when I write, I tend to ditch the outline, especially the further into the book we get. So what I do for this is I just do a chapter by chapter outline. So I used my novel outline planner to outline the story beats of this book, but I'm also going to go ahead and use the notebook pages at the back of the planner to outline chapter by chapter. So basically, I'm going to write chapter 1, a 1 or 2 sentence summary, and then leave a little bit of white space for myself to leave notes, and then chapter 2, and so on. And I'm just going to do that throughout my entire manuscript, which I have pulled up right now. I should also add that this chapter by chapter outline process should not take super long. You should only need to skim your chapter to remind yourself what you wrote. I personally just finished writing this novel less than a month ago. It's truly just skimming and then writing a really quick 1 or 2 sentence summary. So that took about an hour or so, but I've since gone through and made many pages of notes. And what you can also see here is that some chapters, the summary is very short. Other chapters, it's a bit longer. So what I noticed personally is that the beginning of my book is extremely fast-paced, to the point that as readers, we don't really get a feel for the before the catalyst moment, and it just jumps into the after of the catalyst moment. So for rewrites, that's what I know I need to do. I already knew I need to do that, because when I was writing the first draft, I kind of had a note section on my phone of things that were popping into my brain of edits that I need to make. So that was just another thing that reassured me of what needed to happen. I also used a different color pen to write in notes for edits I need to make that were specific to chapters. And this is not a clear cut of like, this is exactly what I need to edit right now. This is just what popped into my brain. So now that I have the outline of chapter by chapter, I also have the notes section on my phone of the more big picture edits that I already knew I needed to make. Now what I'm gonna do is, this is something that I've done in the past, is I'm gonna go through my outline and take another different colored pen. And I left room, like I just put chapter 1 and then started the summary on the next line. So since I have all this white space, I'm actually going to go ahead and use a different colored pen and write in and identify a universal fantasy for every single chapter. So I actually have a separate video where I talk about this process and how I identify some sort of universal fantasy in every single chapter. And if you don't know what a universal fantasy is, highly recommend checking out that video. I'm not going to explain it today because it's kind of a whole concept within its own, but essentially it's just something that really connects with a reader and really makes them want to keep reading because they're living out a universal fantasy of some sort. So I like to make sure that there's some sort of universal fantasy driving every single chapter. I already have a feeling that this book is lacking in some of its chapters, so this next step might take me a while. Fortunately for me, my daughter needs to be woken up from her nap, so I'm actually going to go ahead and stop working for now. I might tune back into this later tonight or hop back on tomorrow to working on this, but 'tis the joys of trying to write while being a mom, is you just work in small pockets of time. So next time you see me, it will be a while from now. It's at this time I'm realizing how in over my head I am for edits. Anyways, as you can see here, we have a lot of notes. Red is universal fiction, blue is just general editing notes, and it's not great. It took a long time and a lot of thinking and perhaps overthinking, which I feel like is just all a part of the editing process. I'm still trying to figure out if my chapters are too short, to the point that I posted a TikTok to ask if there's such thing as too short of chapters. Because here's the thing, I can clump the chapters together. It just doesn't feel natural that way. And I think part of it is that I enjoy switching back and forth between the dual point of view so much. And that's why the chapters are shorter. We get one character's perspective, and then I swap, and we get the other character's perspective. Anyways, those are my editing struggles right now. I also have big general idea editing struggles, but I know what I need to edit now. In fact, to the point that I looked back at the Save the Cat method that I used for outline. And for that method, we identify the problem, the want, and the need of our main character. And I had done that, but I realized after writing the book that I needed to re-identify the problem, the want, and the need. And there's like a deeper level that I want this book to have. Originally, it was truly just about the love story, but I think that's why the book was so short, just over 50,000 words. But I want to add another layer onto that, which is kind of sort of the B story. And part of the thing is that my main character, Harper, she wants to go to Iceland because she's about to graduate college, and that she thinks that once she graduates college, all life of fun is ending. And so that's why she's so adamant about going to Iceland, seeing the Northern Lights, and having the best time of her life. And then she finds out her best friend has feelings for her, and then it all just feels like it's falling apart, and that her life is ending, and that this big hurrah before she graduates college is ruined. But what I need her to learn by the end of the book is that life doesn't end when you graduate college, and just because you become a real adult doesn't mean that you stop having fun. So that's what she learns by the end of the book, and that's kind of the story that I completely forgot to include in the book as well. So I have a lot of layers to add, which is fine. It, like, what I currently have written works. I just need to add a lot more. Anyways, let's talk about the next step. We've gone ahead and we've outlined chapter by chapter. We made chapter by chapter notes on what changes need to happen. And now I'm going to go ahead and create an editing schedule for myself, because I do have a deadline of when I want this second draft to be done being edited so I can send it to beta readers. And I'm actually concerned I don't have enough time. But yeah, that's the next step, is create an editing schedule and very specific goals so you know what you need to do to reach those goals. Okay, it's now very late at night, and I've made my plan to edit my novel. I do have 2 weeks to do self-edits. As Actually, I guess, oh, that's not true. Technically, I have a little bit more time than that, but I wanted to give myself time at the end of the month to also outline the novella that I want to write, because yeah, I also want to write a novella that's going to come out before this next book, and the novella is going to be free. It's going to be a newsletter opt-in, so that's a whole separate thing. So that's why I'm only giving myself 2 weeks to do self-edits. And truthfully, after going through everything the past couple days, really it's just the beginning of the book that's like really rough, and then the middle of the book, shockingly, is actually really solid. And then there's like a few rewrites I want to do towards the end. But this is the first time where the beginning of the book is the awful spot, and the middle of the book really doesn't need a whole lot of rewrites, and it's more towards the end and the beginning where like I totally just went too fast at the beginning writing and skimmed over a lot of things. I think I was just overly excited to get to the different plot points. And then the ending, because I skipped over beginning spots, I forgot to intertwine some things towards the end. So that's where I need to do some rewriting there. But yeah, I've got my writing schedule set for me. I have written out what days I want what chapters to be edited. And then even I have it so I have an extra day where if these goals aren't met. So for example, I'm going to be editing 5 chapters a day except for Wednesday. Because I truly just don't think I'll have time on Wednesdays to edit 5 chapters. And I only work Monday through Friday. I should add that. I do not work on the weekends. I might if I feel like I really need to make up for lost time. But my goal is to not work on the weekends on this book, because this is my full-time job, and I don't enjoy working 24/7. I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so Monday I'm editing chapter 1 through 5, Tuesday chapter 6 through 10, so on. So with all that said, my goal is to be done by the 27th, but if I edit the way I plan to edit, I will be done by the 26th, so I have like a buffer day. And then the last couple days of December is for outlining my novella that I have put very little thought into. So from here, the next step of doing self-edits is to actually do the self-edits, which is the hard part. So some may say all this planning I'm doing is actually a form of procrastination, hence the Procrastination Club sweatshirt that I sport on a regular basis. This is my merch, by the way, so if you enjoyed my sweatshirt, you can buy it at stoneridgebooks.com, as well as any of my other merch designs. But if this is procrastination, it at least feels like productive procrastination. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. It was a bit of a like vlog meets like talking head video. If you guys want me to vlog the actual editing of the book, let me know and I'll do it as a writing vlogs like I did for writing the first draft of this book. Otherwise, that is it for this week, and I'll see you all in the next video.